we do things. Mr. Speaker, secondary school is a place where we learn a lot. In fact, we all know that education is meant to change us for our own good and also for the good of others and society. Now, in our school regulations, I will quote a song that is relevant to Achimota School, a song that we sing, which is from Gambaga to Accra. In a line of this song, it says that so to subjugate ourselves that we may rule. It means that we bring ourselves under domination or control of the school regulations so that we can become leaders. Because as we all understand, a good leader is one who learns how to serve. Mr. Speaker, Achimota teaches us leadership by service. And that is the reason why most of us, when we were interested in joining this school, we agreed to subject ourselves to the code of conduct of Achimota School. However, with this issue about a young man who performed excellently in school, and for that reason wanted to be admitted into the school, but has been refused entry, has brought a lot of debate. Even my school is split. Many Accras have discussed this on various platforms, and one of my mates said to me when I asked him, "What do you think?" His name is Richard Papo, and I quote Richard Papo, "Accras are split, the nation is split. It appears even the law is split. Maybe we need the law courts to help determine what works best for Ghana." Mr. Speaker, in as much as I agree that the code of conduct of every school is important, it is also important that we do not turn our school into places of robotic learning. Mr. Speaker, as the world evolves, it is important that we must create synergy between the school and the home. A lot of times, the values we hold at school does not gel with the values that we hold at home. But then when we are at home, we have the control to teach our children what is important to us. But at school, we must allow the school environment to teach what is also the values that the school holds. Now the question is whether the values of the school are negotiable or non-negotiable. If a child comes to school and he has to spend a lot of hours there treating the hair, using chemicals that he has to store, and also spending a lot of time he could be using to learn to treat his hair, will this take away from the time that the boy needs to learn? Our rule says that it must be low, the hair must be kept low, simple, and natural. Now the question is whether this affects the boy's ability to learn or not. Mr. Speaker, just as the nation is split, I hold the opinion that this conversation must be looked at again by the Ghana Education Service. It is not a straightforward answer, because as a country, we must move forward. And the opinions are divided, and rightly so. Mr. Speaker, I encourage the Ministry of Education and all other relevant bodies to come together and look at the code of conduct for public schools again. Because we must not be ruled by fear, Mr. Speaker. We must not feel that we are losing control control because we are allowing certain new things to come in. Mr. Speaker, let us start this conversation without bias because our children need to feel confident. My daughter, who has benefited from the free SHS that His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo brought into Ghana, she is currently in her second year. She kept her hair long and beautiful until she had to cut her hair when she went to SHS 1. I saw her confidence go down because she didn't like the way she looked. So, Mr. Speaker, this is a conversation that we must have. And if it is possible, can we make sure that the children have an opportunity to keep their hair instead of imposing the rule of keeping their hair short? Mr. Speaker, to conclude, let us remember we are different as people. We may not all look the same, we may not all talk the same, and people may not look like us or worship like us. We must decide that in our diversity we have our uniqueness. We must not encourage conformity because that is what brings us the value that we have as a people in the development of our country. We must also recognize the tough job of educationists and remember that in as much as we support all the rules and regulations of schools, we must make our children also comfortable learning in the environment of excellence, such as what Achimota School provides to our children. So to end, Mr. Speaker, Achimota School teaches us that we are brothers and our mother is the school. She will guide us all and each, so to learn that we may teach, and to subjugate ourselves that we may rule. If you look at our logo, which is a piano, it has black and white, and it means that all.
Honorable member.
Thank you.
Please wind up.
Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, we have so many things to do today. Let him give the opportunity to lead us. Mr. Speaker, I'll come to you. Let me give it to.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I rise to contribute to the statement by the Member for Parliament for North Tongue and congratulating making such an important statement. Right Honorable Speaker, the question we should ask ourselves is, are we more interested as a country about the knowledge we impart into young men and women who will form the next generation of leaders, or are we interested in what they carry on their hair? Mr. Speaker, is there any scientific proof to show that carrying your hair low is correspondent with being a responsible citizen? Mr. Speaker, being a Rastafarian and listening to one of the students in question, it is shocking that any school would want to deprive such an intelligent young man the opportunity to further his education. Mr. Speaker, the Constitution in Article 17(2) is clear that nobody shall be discriminated on any grounds. Why is he carrying dreadlocks? Is it a fashion statement or is it as a result of a religious belief? Our understanding is that it's as a result of a religious belief. Are we then going to say that the rules and regulations of Achimota School supersede the 1992 Constitution? We cannot accept this, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I know that in this chamber, there are several members of Parliament who, but for the kind of reaction we are seeing today to this student, would have loved to come to this chamber in dreadlocks. Because I believe that even the majority leader and leader of government business is a Rastafari inside of him. But God has taken away his dreadlocks. But for that, he could possibly have been a Rasta man. Because who is a Rasta man? A Rasta man is someone who believes in the equality of all men. A Rasta man is someone who believes in nature. And so at the end of the day, if this is the basis of Rastafarianism, except the majority leader doesn't believe in the equality of all men, I do not understand why.
Honorable member, hold on. Make your statement.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, let my honorable friend who is on his feet have better examples and not draw me into death. Mr. Speaker, we all believe in nature. We all believe in nature. But not all of us believe in Rastafarianism. But the fact that it is at the heart of whatever it is. Because you don't know a full complement of what Rastafarianism stands for. You don't. And don't pretend you know. So don't draw us into it. You are making your own arguments. Restrict yourself to what you know. Don't draw other people into it. Especially when you are not in control of the full facts relating to Rastafarianism. You are not.
If you want us to debate the full facts and merits of Rastafarianism, we'll go into that. But for me, the point I seek to make here, which is very simple, is the gentleman is carrying dreadlocks not as a fashion statement. Yes, that is a fact that has been made. He has ascribed to the Rastafarian religion. And so carrying dreadlocks cannot be seen as a reason why a child should be deprived an education in this country. Mr. Speaker, it is this kind of discrimination, and I call it discrimination because the same Achimota school has Caucasian, white girls carrying long hair, which is against the rules and regulations of Achimota school. So we need to ask ourselves, is it because this young man is a Ghanaian whose father or mother may not be a somebody in our society? Is that why he's being treated that way? Whilst in that same school, you have foreign students, you have non-Ghanaians, Caucasians, also carrying long hair in the same school. So where was Achimota's rules and regulations when the foreign students were allowed to carry long hair? The headmistress who is imposing that rule herself is wearing an artificial wig. But we think that it is wrong for someone to carry dreadlocks. So, Mr. Speaker, it must ignite a new debate, a larger debate in this country. We are stuck in our colonial thinking and mentality. That is why you still have, respectfully, our judges of the Supreme Court and lawyers having to appear wearing horse wigs, which are a relic of the colonial past. That is why today, Mr. Speaker, you will hardly see a Speaker of Parliament, except on a ceremonial, sit in that chair without wearing a suit and a tie, and not wear any of our African fugus or African dresses or Ghanaian dresses. We need to expand this conversation, but I believe that it's good that the Education Minister is here. Mr. Speaker, we will a definitive directive or ruling on this matter, because this boy or these boys are students, they are citizens. We must respect Article 17(2) and also respect Article 21 of the Constitution, and make the distinction, Mr. Speaker, that these students' right to a fair education must be respected by Achimota School. I thank you. God bless you.
Thank you very much. Majority leadership.
Speaker, I would rather yield to the Sector Minister, the Minister for Education.
Leader, you can yield to somebody else. I will I will allow the sector minister to conclude.
Okay, then I would rather yield to my deputy, the Honorable Habib.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I think this is a very serious and a very delicate issue, considering the fact that it involves parents, it involves the students. The Constitution have made it clear, as Honorable rightly said, in Article 17.2, in Article 28.4, and in Article 21.1. But considering the fact that everybody have the right to go to school and to be admitted, and with this computerized system, it is not like previously how there used to be a face-to-face interaction of students and admission officers in various secondary schools, so that you'll be able to have a first-hand interaction with the students before admitting the students. Now we have a computerized system where students can be sent to any school, and at the moment, these very students have been sent to Ofori-Atta school. But the debate has gone beyond this Rastafarians. Now it has gone to other schools, also rejecting Muslim students who are also in veils, which is also a problem when you come to look at the Constitution that states that everybody, whether your religion, irrespective of your religion, you should be allowed to be educated. So I think the best way to go, as the Minister of Education is here, is for the authorities of the school to sit down with the parents of the students, so that they will come into a conversation, because the child cannot be denied admission on the basis of wearing a long hair. Equally, the school authorities to rules and regulations on the conduct of the students too cannot also be undermined. So it is an open conversation that the students, parents, and the authorities of the students of the school should be able to come to talk, discuss this issue. If you look at Ghana, Ghana is one of the first countries to have ratified the Convention on the Right of the Child, and it has made it clear that the child have the right to education. So for the fact that you are having a long hair, even though I disagree with what Honorable the Member of Parliament for Ningo Pram said, which is actually, in my own view, contravene our standing orders when he described the headmistress of also wearing an artificial long hair. I think that it is in breach of Order 93-2, because that is not a very good made against the headmistress of the school. The person is not here, and when you make such statement, it is attacking the person's personality, and it is completely uncalled for. So I would rather conclude by actually saying that there is more to this Rastafarianism. Rastafarianism is a social movement, and it is how you be able to interpret what the social movement is. So on this note, I will call on the Minister of Education, who will be making a statement, and the Ghana Education Service, NAGRAT, and the school authorities to have a roundtable discussion, because I strongly believe that the children deny their right to admission into the school. Likewise, the school authorities' laws and code of conduct should also not be undermined. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Let him give opportunity to First Deputy Speaker.
Thank you very much, Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to this discussion. First, the statement by a member of the floor. I didn't listen to the statement myself, but I had the opportunity to listen to contributions by colleagues. And indeed, I followed discussions in the media, mainstream media, and the social media on this issue, which originally started as a local issue, but is now becoming national because it generated discussion across the country. First, I'm worried when we interpret the refusal of Ofori-Atta school to admit the young man into the school as a denial of his right to education.
I beg to differ. Now, every young Ghanaian person has a right to enter Achimota School. But it is only those who attain a certain pass mark who are allotted that school. It doesn't mean that those who do not attain those pass marks have been denied the rights to school at Achimota. No. So, the condition is that the young man has been offered admission at Achimota School, having obtained the appropriate grade. Now, the only thing is that the school has rules and regulations. You can use this school for your training if you abide by these rules and regulations. Does that amount to denying him or the young man a right to education? That is the question we must answer. He has participated, he has qualified, he has actually been sent to that school. That's what that school is well. This school, our Board of Governors has made these rules and you must comply with them. If you choose not to comply with them, I don't think it should lie in your mouth to say that I have been denied education. Achimota School is one of the schools in the country. There may be others which may be willing to overlook. Those are the rules made by the governors, the school. I was fortunate to obtain admission to any of those big schools. But even in my small job in secondary school, my headmaster, Mr. Daniel Atakra, may so rest in peace, was so strict on wearing your shirt and buttoning up to the one before neck dismissed if you did not button up to the necktie. That was the rules of the school. And they always put there, a breach of common sense is a breach of school rule. That's how the school was brought up. And students in that school were brought up. But I also get worried about the attempt to rope in Rastafarianism as a religion. If we do, then we complicate the matters for the young man. The reason is this. If you study Rastafarianism, it involves the smoking of weed. It includes the smoking of weed. And weed is an illegal substance. It is not a substance that is permitted to be smoked. So, if you recall, in this house, one of the persons that have been brought before this house for contempt of parliament was one person claiming to be a Rastafarian who was on air and said that members of parliament smoke weed. He was brought in this house, he was put before the privileges committee, and he was found guilty of contempt of parliament. He was brought here and he was made to apologize and told to go and say no more in this house. Now, I think that references to religion and so on may complicate the matters for the young man. If you looked at it from the point of view of, does Achimota School have the right to prescribe a way of dressing a parent for its school, including hairstyle? If you look at it plainly from that point of view, we can discuss the matter across board. And I hold no opinion on that one. Just that if we bring in religion, I'm afraid that we complicate the matters. For those of you who are lawyers, of the particular case which was popular, I always remember Professor Kwame Nahoi when we came to that case, called Kwame Nahoi versus the Republic. It was a sect. They say they have found the tree of life. And members were encouraged to smoke the weed as part of their worship, the tree of life. They were arrested, prosecuted, and was found guilty. Later he appealed and he said, well, I know I've heard of weed as a banned substance, but what I have found is this, I didn't know it was weed. So the issue became whether ignorance of fact, whether it's an offense. Ignorance of law is known to be no defense, but ignorance of fact, that whether you don't know, if you don't know that this is weed and you smoke it, you can be accused of smoking weed. So let's not get into those battles anymore. Let's focus on, is Achimota School entitled to make rules and regulations as it is? Is the governing board the authority that has the power to make the rules as have been stated? If so, is that the appropriate arrangement we want for our country? But I think it only gives us an opportunity to probably review some of the things we have held there, some of the things we have allowed to fester over the years. But by and large, encouraging discipline and obeisance to rules is extremely. Honourable members, Mr. Speaker, looking around us, one of the least things Ghanaians do is voluntarily obeying rules. You can look at what happens here in our office block. You see there boldly printed, MPs only, nobody. You look around here, everywhere the rules are clearly stated, no parking, they will park there. So we should look at it from that point of view also. Are we going to encourage disrespect for rules? If not, is that appropriate rule? I always have a problem. If you don't agree with the rules, change it. But if it's a rule, then you're bound to obey it. Mr. Speaker, my view is that this matter has engaged the country for too long. It is a critical individual matter. We are making it a national issue. It is important for the young man, but I think that the GES and the ministry should be left to manage it locally. Let's think big. This country has way so many important things to discuss. Let's think big and focus on the bigger things. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Let me give the final opportunity to the Sector Minister to react and to take cognizance of the fact of the raging debate going on in the country and what has transpired here. But before then, I would like to direct that sitting be extended. It's getting to 2 o'clock. Minister, you can take on.
Honourable Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. I commend my honourable colleague, Honourable Samuel Kudeta Blakwa of North Tongu for the well-researched and eloquently presented statement. Mr. Speaker, Achimota has been a beacon of hope for many young men and women. Achimota has been defined by its history of inclusion. Achimota is the school that travels around the length and breadth of Ghana recruiting students. And they have a story to tell of how Achimota changed them and made them leaders who have led this country and led their families, led their communities, and have done a fantastic job in various professions. Achimota is defined by a history of inclusion, history that has given hope to many, as I have said. Mr. Speaker, the Ghana Education Service provides opportunity for all students to blossom and to have quality education. Mr. Speaker, I understand the argument that is raging in this country. I can understand where everyone is coming from in terms of the convictions that they have for or against the debate that we are talking about. But Mr. Speaker, I can assure you that Ghana Education Service within the shortest possible time is going to lay out specific guidelines for head of schools as to how we proceed in this environment. Mr. Speaker, I can tell you that meetings have been had, others are ongoing, the ministry facilitating to make sure that our students operate in an environment where they give up their best, not just to themselves but to this nation. Mr. Speaker, the President of the Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has directed great investment we made by this country in education of students who have benefited from free senior high school, but that is an access issue. He's now looking at quality. We're talking about science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, STEM centers being built across the country, the curriculum being changed to reflect computing, and other important aspects of work in school. That is what this government is about, and this government is about ensuring that education becomes that vehicle for socio-economic transformation, and that Ghana competes just like any country in this world. That is what has preoccupied us at the Ministry of Education, that we can bring the President's vision into reality, that we will be able to increase the gross tertiary enrollment by 2030 to 40%. That is our major preoccupation. Any other thing that comes up, we'll make sure that the distraction is removed, and that students can learn, and that teachers can teach, and that parents will have the peace of mind to also guide their students. So, Mr. Speaker, I can assure you that the ministry is not sleeping at the wheel. The ministry is on top of this, and will come to a conclusion that Ghanaians will respect. But I appeal to all that let us, irrespective of our emotions about this, let us calm down and understand Achimota, that great institution, has been an institution of inclusion and has never been an institution of exclusion. And Achimota will live up to its great expectation of educating the leaders of Ghana. It will continue to do so, Mr. Speaker. So I want every Ghanaian to understand that at the end of the day, the vision of Achimota will forever live on. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Statement time is ended. Honorable indication.
Speaker, if we may go back to item 6, presentation of papers, and then we take 6E, 6I, and 6H, I should say 6H, and then 6I for now. Speaker.
Item number 6, presentation of papers. Page 4. Item number E. The chairman.
Report of the Committee on Youth, Sports and Culture on the annual budget estimates of the Ministry of Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs for the year ending 31st December 2021.
The report is duly presented and is for distribution to members. Page 5, item number H. Honorable Chairman.
Speaker, we can go on next to 6H.
All right. The same P5, 6H. Honorable Chairman.
Report of the Committee on Food, Agriculture and Cocoa Affairs on the annual budget estimates of the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture Development for the year ending 31st December 2021.
The report is duly presented for distribution to members. Now,
Speaker, we can take, with your permit, 6I after HI.
Item number 6, I, page 5. The chairman.
Report of the Joint Committee on Gender and Children and Employment, Social Welfare and State Enterprises on the annual budget estimates of the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection for the year ending 31st December 2021.
Honorable members, the report is duly presented and it is for distribution to members.
Speaker, if we may go back to 6C.
Item 6C, page 4. Chairman.
Report of the Committee on Trade, Industry and Tourism on the annual budget estimates of the Ministry of Trade and Industry for the year ending 31st December 2021.
Honorable members, the report is duly presented and is for distribution to the members.
Speaker, we can also take, I've just been informed by the chair, we can also take 6A. A for Adam.
Honorable members, 6A, page 3. The chairman.
Reports of the Committee on Works and Housing on the annual budget estimates of the Ministry of Works and Housing for the year ending 31st December 2021.
Honorable members, the report has been duly presented and it is for distribution to honorable members. Honorable Leader, any indication?
Speaker, with your permit, we can suspend for 2 hours, if you permit, Speaker.
Right Honorable Speaker, we have no objection to that.
Honorable members, the House is accordingly suspended for 2 hours. Sitting has been suspended for 2 hours. The time is 2 o'clock and we are coming here exactly 4 o'clock.